Hello and welcome to a new podcast by Rangers supporters for Rangers supporters. This is We Are the Podcast. Today is our first maiden episode. We're going to talk about Russell Martin, Thelwell and Stewart, the whole shebang. My name's William. I've got my good pal Charlie here. And you can't see him, but that's Stevie. Um, just to give you a wee bit of background about ourselves, we're all Rangers supporters and have been majority of our lives. I started supporting Rangers when I was about 4 years old through my mum and my uncle Kenny. I've never had a season ticket or anything like that. I've never been in a financial position to have one, but I support where I can and when I can. What, tell the people about yourself, Charlie?
I've been a Rangers fan for about 40 years, so we've got Stevie will be the same, but we've got the really gracious position of having experienced a wee bit of success in our time supporting the club, so it's not too bad, I suppose, considering what we're putting up with right now. We would love it to be better, but it's where it is. So yeah, been a Rangers fan for about 40 years now. Get to the games when I can. Where my working position is that I need to work a lot of weekends and stuff like that, so I don't often get to the games as often as I'd like to. But I try and buy the tickets and go as often as I can, really. But aye, looking forward to probably outpouring quite a bit of how we feel about the way things are going now, and maybe getting a bit of catharsis from about that as well.
And yourself, Stevie, tell the people about you.
Aye, so I'm pretty much the same as both of you guys, supported Rangers all my life. Again, similar to yourselves, never really been in a position to have a season ticket, but go to games when I can. And I think we're just going to go through this and kind of use it just now as a bit of a therapy session for the way things are going, because we all pretty much grew up with Rangers being a successful team. So it's been pretty difficult over the last kind of, 10, 15 years. So hopefully we can kind of go through everything recently and see what the future holds for us.
Smashing. So as the title of the episode alludes to, we have me and Charlie specifically have had this idea of having a podcast for a long time. I know everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's had a podcast.
Aye.
There's the big boys and then there's the wee boys. We're now coming at this for an angle of we want to make something out of this. We just want to talk about Rangers. Is basically what we're doing this for. We brought Stevie in. Stevie's got a great knowledge of history for Rangers. Like if I need to remember something, Stevie's a man I go to. Like he'll be able to tell me the minute that somebody scored in a game in fucking 1994 or something like that. Like that's just what Stevie does. We over the weekend we decided that we were going to bring this back in. Obviously on Saturday, things were a wee bit different. We were looking ahead to the Falkirk game after the midweek Sturm Graz game, and then come Sunday night with a whole new reason for starting a podcast, and that was because of the unceremonious ejection of Russell Martin from Ibrox. What do you guys think ultimately led to him being sacked? Obviously, there was the fan outcry. The results have been shocking, to say the least, but where exactly did it go wrong for Russell Martin?
I think personally, ever since Thursday, to be honest with you, I don't think there's been a way back since Thursday. I think because the way the nature of the business works, you don't want to be sacking a manager when you're just so close to an international break. If you can hold off, they probably did hope that he would manage to get a win on Sunday there, and then they'd be able to. I think the plan, honest to God, and I'm probably it's not just because of the two guys that had accosted Thelwell and Stewart the other night, but I think it was. I think they knew that they dragged it out for probably a month longer than they should have done, and the results and the performances weren't getting any better. So I think it's gotten to the point where they probably thought, right, we can probably stumble along until the international break, maybe pick up 3 points at the weekend there. But I think after Thursday night, that was it really, because they two goals we conceded on Thursday night, and MD who listens to this and listens to any other podcast I've listened to, that was schoolboy stuff. In fact, you'd be embarrassed at schoolboy level conceding goals like that. Just, and it's no even the worst thing is it's no the first time this season that under Russell Martin where we've conceded these kind of goals. It's been a constant thing. It's actually more constant than it has been when he's talking about, oh, we want to play this front foot attacking football. Actually, the real traits of his football so far with us is conceding really, really sloppy goals. The defence being all over the place and a suicidal high line. So pretty much, I reckon, from Thursday night, they kind of thought, right, this isn't going to go the way it's going to go. We'll wait to the international window and then we'll just make a change then. It's probably been sped up a little bit. I think they might have held off to the Monday. I think that was originally the plan, and then it's come out in the Sunday night. It's been leaked in the Sunday night, so they've just kind of thought they've had the statement ready, haven't they? Because it was 9:30. They've just published it and went for it.
I think part of the problem was that the majority of people, pretty much ourselves included, didn't want Russell Martin in the first place. So he's fighting an uphill battle the minute he comes in. And the only way he can win that is by getting results right away. And it never happened. And we never looked like turning any kind of corner other than what, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes in the first game against Pilsen. You're thinking, you can see what he's trying to do. Let's maybe just kind of kick on for here. And it just didn't happen. And if we're honest, this probably should have happened weeks ago. He got longer than he probably should have done. You can kind of see why the owners kept him in place for as long as they did, because you've got to give him a fair crack. You've got to take into account he's brought in so many bodies. It's going to take time to implement a style of play. But at the same time, when you look at teams like Motherwell and Hearts, who were in a similar situation, new manager, new signings, and look at how they're playing. We got played off the park by Hearts at Ibrox. We were lucky to even scrape a draw against Motherwell on the opening day. So it's just one of the things where his style of play clearly doesn't work up here. You know, you're not going to be able to break down teams that sit in two banks of five constantly. It just doesn't happen. So he wasn't willing to adapt his tactics. In fact, the only time he did adapt his tactics with any kind of shape, other than going gung ho, was the Celtic game. And you're like, well, you've done it for that, and then you're going back to playing this style of football that just isn't suited. As Charles said there, the high lines and all the rest of it, and the goals that we were losing were teams weren't even having to work to score goals against us. The majority of goals were either coming for them playing a square ball through the defence or us holding such a high line that it was suicidal at times. And suicidal can be fine if you're going to outscore a team, but we never even looked like scoring. So it was just an absolute mess for the start. And it's probably best that I stop here because I'll just go on a rant for the next kind of 10, 15 minutes of where
See
Absolutely.
when
I'll
you're
end
what
up
you're saying there,
getting us
Stevie.
kicked off.
See what you're saying there about the high line, right? And obviously I mentioned it as well. And we can all see it, right? See, if you remember, when you throw your mind back to the sendings off that Giga got and that Aaron's got, right? Now, I'm not absolving them of any blame here, right? But see the fouls they've had to make. The reason they've had to make the fouls is because the line was suicidal and they were left a ball over the top, completely exposing the back line. And the choice, I'm not saying they should have done it, right? At the end of the day, they've been sent off. They need to. The smart choice is let the guy run through. If he scores, you've still got 11 men on the pitch, right? I get that, but they've been put in a position where they need to make a really snap choice here. Been done with a ball over the top, and I'm the last opportunity to stop this guy from going and scoring. They've not made the right choice. I get that, but it's not just conceding the goals. The sendings off have been doing to this as well because
It's how
you've
he's
backed
set them
him.
up.
Yep,
Like
you're backing the
he's
player into a position where he's got to go, and they're not making the right choice. I'm not defending that, but they're being backed into a corner where they're going, I need to foul this guy, or a part of their head is going, I need to foul this guy. Maybe Aaron's wanted out of the game, right? I know that's an argument people have been making, that he's bottled it and all the rest of it, right? But he's still been put in that position because of the way the defence have been set up.
aye.
And that's where the frustration comes in for me, because if you look at how the defence was set up against Celtic, that defence was 10, 15 yards deeper than what it had been in any other previous game. And it worked. Didn't work going forward, but it worked in terms of restricting Celtic. I don't remember any clear-cut chances that they had in that game where you're thinking, "Oh, it's a wee bit dodgy. We got away with one there." So why didn't he just kind of do that in the other games? There was no reason, as you said, with Jigger's red card. I can see why he's done it, because you're 1-0 down at that point. If you go 2-0 down, there's a long way back. The Orange one, the tie was done by the time Max Aarons get sent off anyway. I mean, they'd won 3-1 in the first leg. They were already, I can't remember what the score was it 2 or 3-0 at the time when Aarons got sent off for
No, I think it was
Bruges?
still in an inch, was it no?
It was
It was
fairly,
Eh,
it was
right at the start
fairly,
of the
it was
game.
fairly, it was fairly
It
early on
was
because they
right
had
at
to
the
bring
start of the
Tab
game.
on.
It was right at the start of
right.
the game because I remember going, I'm turning this off because we're going to get gubbed here. Because I remember right away going, it was you're right in what you're saying. We were 3-1 down for the first leg, but I remember him getting sent off. It was about 5 minutes in, and I went, "Oh, that's us absolutely snookered now."
Yeah, so it's kind of
An
I don't
insurmountable
want.
task with 10
Aye.
men.
It's a
Yeah,
tough
and I don't.
task as it is before you take a
Aye.
man down away from home. That
I
early. I
don't
know
want to
the
sound.
boys shouldn't have done it right, but it's two sendings off
His
that come
his
for
tactics
the
led
tactics.
to being in a position where Aaron's thought that that's what he had to do.
Mhm.
But that's tactics, and player setups and mistakes aside. The big thing for me, for Russell Martin, where he got it wrong was his relationship with the fans. Too many times he came out after games and said stupid things. Like, I will always go back to the Bruges one. I've said it, I don't know how many times in the past couple of days. We'll never concede goals like that again. Only for him to concede goals like that the following weekend. But he just had this way of coming out and being arrogant and smarmy with the things that he said that made him unlikable. Like, he was just
Aye, very
unlikable.
unlikable.
And I think I said to both of you right at the very beginning, Russell Martin was not the person that I wanted. I championed Jose Mourinho, as daft and as sky high dreaming as that is. I wanted Jose Mourinho. He was my number one nailed on pick for that. For Russell Martin to go through 7 interviews, supposedly, get the job, and then make such a colossal mess of it within 123 days needs to be studied. It's unreal. And I think the relationship with the fans and the breakdown between the communication from Thelwell and Stewart and everybody above him and us is what's ultimately led to him being so despised by the fans, results aside. Like, if he came out and he said, "This is what I'm trying to do, I'll explain to you what I think needs to happen, and maybe you'll give us time." Look at, like, clubs like Arsenal and stuff like that. 7 years they've had Mikel Arteta doing his trust the process. It's starting to pay off a wee bit. We don't have time like that up here. But I think if he'd have been more honest and if he'd have been less of a smarmy, greasy guy, then we might have given him more time. But ultimately, he nailed his own coffin shut, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
See, the thing is, right?
on the point
Sorry, I'll let
of
Stevie go.
sorry, mate. So on the point of like giving him time, go back to when Postecoglou went in at Celtic. He had a terrible start, but when you were watching games, you could at least see what they were trying to do. We couldn't see what Russell Martin was trying to do. As I said, out with Pilsen for that first half, you could not see. Oh, he's trying to do this. He's trying to do that. It just needs a bit of time to gel and click and all the rest of it. There was none of that, So it's kind of his whole appointment reeks of him being your typical kind of arrogant person who's worked down south and went, "I'll go up to Scotland, it'll be a scoosh," and it's completely backfired on him.
I think all three of them are guilty of that. To be honest with you, I tweeted this the other day. Right, the three of them have come up here individually, right, but they've come up here going, "How hard can it be?" And umpteen people did this. You'll remember Paul Le Guin done this as well. I've won the league with Leon. This will be a canter for me. He's come here. It's no worked, and he doesn't understand how it's not working because in his head he's coming going, "This will be a scoosh." So the way, even the stuff he was saying, "Oh, I want to make amends for how bad I was as a player here." He's only actually been worse as a manager. He's actually compounded a really poor opinion we had of the guy because he was hopeless for 6 months to then being hopeless for 3 or 4 months as a manager and just made it worse. Now he's probably one of the worst players we've ever had and the worst manager we've ever had.
He's definitely the worst manager we've ever
Oh,
had.
genuinely, statistically, he is, mate.
I cannot
I was
see
listening to
anybody doing a worse job than he has done in such a short period of time.
there hasn't been, mate. I was listening to, I think it was Heart and Hand that had mentioned that they had all the stats, win percentages, everybody,
29%.
even interim managers, and he is the lowest. Barry
He
Ferguson
was
was in the 30s, and I don't think he done a good job either last season, but he was 29%. He's won
the
5 out of 17 games. One of them was against Alloa. One of them was a last minute winner against Livingston. So really, if you discount the last minute winner was a total scramble, it wasn't because his football was brilliant or because the
He
tactics
just
were right.
threw
It's because
everything
he
at the moon.
started throwing everything at it, and
Aye.
it just so happened to get a Stramash in the box, and we scored for that. That could have easily been another 2 points dropped.
And it probably should have been.
Aye. It got to a point, and as a Rangers supporter, and you will be the same, I hate saying it, but every game rolled around and I would tweet to Perry's, I hope we get cuffed today, just so that he would go. And I hate being like that. I hate saying that out loud, but it got to a point where the thought of having to look at him and listen to him and watch his football just made me angry.
See, based on like, I know we were talking a minute ago about needing time, right? No, I'm not an idiot. None of us are idiots, right? A manager will need time to implement the way he likes the team to play football, right? But I'm sorry, you don't need time to beat Dundee at home. You don't need time to beat Motherwell.
100%.
No offence to them, right? I know they came and they tried and knocked a pan in and they got the result. They got
Falkirk,
the draws.
Falkirk were in
You
the
don't need
lower
time to
division.
Falkirk are just back to back promotions. You don't need time when you've spent £20 million in the summer. You don't need time to beat these teams. You need time maybe for it to look good or to win in a certain way, but you don't
Aye.
need time with the money that we're spending to get better results than we did. And that's it. Anybody arguing about time and all the rest of it? I heard Simon Jordan was moaning about it the other day. That guy's a hypocrite anyway, right? Because Crystal Palace sacked Frank de Boer after how long? And I
5
listened to
games or
him.
something like that, wasn't it?
I
5 or
listened to
6
him
games.
defending that because his argument was, well, the reason why they sacked Frank de Boer was because the stuff he said in his interview isn't what they got. The stuff Russell Martin said in his interview isn't what we got. Look at the press release when we hired them, and Stewart and Thelwell were going, oh, his team like to play attacking, like to play on the front foot, hard running, heavy pressing. We seen none of that. We were the lowest shots for any team in the league. We've conceded almost the most goals. We've conceded the most shots in the league as well. It was far from good enough. Nobody can dress this up any other way than it is. It was atrocious and it was embarrassing.
You could argue he was even lucky to get as far as Bruges in the Champions League because
Oh, 100%.
that first 15, 20 minutes at home to Panathinaikos, I was at
They
the
were all
game and
over us.
I turned to my mate and I was like, we could easily be 2 or 3-0 down here, and how we won that game
That's
2-0 is
a
beyond
recurring
me.
theme in all the games though. Like how many times in our group chats do we say we should be 2 or 3-0 down here? It was the same at Falkirk at the weekend there. The first half hour they battered us. They battered us for half an hour, man. And it was only through poor finishing that they never went into that in the first half 2-0 up, as far as I'm concerned. And it was just a recurring theme for all of his games in charge.
Every single game's been the same. Ironically, apart from the Celtic game, that was the only game where we looked assured, and that was because he ditched what he normally does. Surely any normal person would go, right, that tactic worked for me. We maybe didn't create a lot, but defensively wise, we were a lot more sound. I'll maybe try this going forward, and we just need to work on attacking things. Why would you just ditch that? Go back to how you were before when you were giving away chances. What was it? Something like we gave away about 100 shots in the opening first 4 games or something like that.
Aye.
That's a wild statistic.
It's mental. Mental. The other thing as well that I know you'll feel strongly about this one, Charlie, because you're constantly saying it, but his handling of the Igaman and the Raskin situations just compounded how much of a poor man manager he is. He let potentially 15 to 20 million pound walk out the door, as far as I'm concerned, with the way he handled the Igaman situation. I know obviously Igaman's can't absolve him of being any blame or whatever. He refused to play, which is fair enough. But had I been in the same situation, I would have refused to play for Russell Martin. I know it's refusing to
There's
play for
ways to go
Rangers.
about that.
Exactly. But
But
You don't devalue a player by slaughtering him
aye,
in the game and the interview
exactly.
after it.
That's what I'm talking about. Because literally the day after that, a miraculous buyout clause appeared in his
The guy's
contract
an
that I
excuse
still don't
merchant.
believe. Aye.
He looked for an excuse every single time. As
all he
bad as
had to
this
do,
sounds, right? See the minute that Diomande gets sent off against Genk, I bet you a part of him was going, there's my excuse if we get beat.
Aye.
Because that's all he did. And he did 5 times in that post-match interview. He mentioned being down to 10 men. 5 times. Even though we'd played 38 minutes of the game or somewhere thereabouts, with 11 men and we looked terrible against a team that we would have gubbed any season in the last 5 years. Any of our last 5 year European teams would have gubbed both them and Sturm Graz.
Aye. Good riddance. That's what I say.
It's
So,
just the guy was just an excuse merchant. He just genuinely, he never took. His man management is poor, right? He's talking about the mentality. I know that Troy Deeney had said something on Talksport or something like that last week. Now, Troy Deeney had his own problem, didn't have his own problems to seek when he was a manager for that short period of time, right? Slating his players, but he was a player at a decent level. He was saying, this guy's coming out and talking about the mentality of the players is shot a week after saying they're all brilliant and they're all fighting for me and all that. So as a player, you're going, what is it then?
aye.
Are we all together in this? Or are you going to throw us under the bus? Because he's done that about 3 times. Because he never ever wanted to go, right, what I'm trying isn't working.
I've got this wrong. Aye. And it's funny enough because he did start on Sunday to take the blame, but that was, you could tell in his post-match he knew, because obviously there was rumours on Twitter that him and Tav had a bust up in the tunnel on the way down after it, and that Thelwell and Stewart had met them in the changing room and dismissed him to talk to the team and all that kind of
that never happened, but apparently
his post-match looked like a man that knew he was finished, is what I'm getting at.
For what I've heard had happened was, and this was for, I think it was 4 lads, that basically because of the security concerns, Patrick Stewart went in and said to the players, look, he's going to leave separately because of the security concerns. And the players were told to hold back a wee bit until the crowd dispersed a wee bit. That's apparently what that was. But that's where obviously that's Twitter, you know what Twitter's like anyway. People are hearing one thing that's semi-true and then it turns out, they've told him he's been sacked and all the rest of it. But
give him a telephone.
I mean, look, it should never be a Rangers manager leaving out the side door in a game with people hurling abuse at the motor. If you've seen the video, we've all seen the video. He should never get to that stage, but he should never have been hired in the first place.
It's negligence on the board's part. Like 2-3 weeks ago, had they just quietly went about getting rid of him, we could have been in a better position than now. But they wanted to stick by their man. I see a lot of, like, obviously watching a lot of podcasts recently since Sunday. A lot of people are commenting saying that, and I don't remember this quote, but Thelwell said that if Russell Martin ever gets sacked, that he'll leave as well. I don't remember. I don't remember that quote.
Can take his son with him and all.
Aye, like the optics of the past week and a half of everything that's happened at the club is not good. That being said, Russell Martin is gone, and so ends the worst period of our recent kind of run, if you will. Who do you guys want to replace him? How much time do they get? What do you want them to achieve with what's left of the season? I'll throw at you, Stevie, first.
So I'm fully on board the Steven Gerrard train, and although, well, I say I'm fully on board the Steven Gerrard train. I'd be happy with either Gerrard or Kevin Muscat. I don't think there's any kind of chance of Derek McInnes coming to us, because we are an absolute basket case now and Hearts are flying. And that's not me saying I want him. I just don't think he would. I don't think he would entertain it. Sean Dyche has already ruled himself out of it, according to Sky Sports. So I'd have taken him, by the way. I'd have taken him. I think he would. Don't get me wrong, I think the football would have been awful to watch at times, but I think there would have been a lot of 1-0 wins in there, which I would have happily taken. But yeah, Gerrard for me, especially if there's a chance of coming back with like Defoe and Gary McAllister and that kind of thing, I would be well on board with that. As far as timing goes, you kind of go, well, we're 9 points behind. Is it 9 points we are behind Celtic or 10? 9 points behind
11
Celtic.
behind Hearts.
And 11 behind Hearts. Now, you have to think, and no disrespect to them, but you have to think that Hearts will fall away at some stage, because I don't think they've got the depth. Really depends what they do in January, if they can still stay there or thereabouts. You kind of go, right, well, I don't think we'll win the title, but you need to remember as well, we were in a similar situation when Clement came in terms of points deficit, and he pulled that right back. We were level, and then we just went on to bottle it.
That's true.
So it's not out of the realms of possibility, especially when you consider we still to play Celtic 3 times and we still to play Hearts 3 times. So if you win the games and you can beat all the jobbers, because last year our problem wasn't Celtic, it was beating all the jobbers round about us. Then there's no reason why we can't. I don't think we will win the league, but you would have to say, look, finish second in the league and win one of the cups. You'd have to be happy with that. It really depends on what they're allowed to do come January, because we've spent a hell of a lot of money in the summer, um, especially on that striker that couldn't hit a cruise off with a banjo.
See,
Hutchinson.
that's the thing I know, but like I think if if we go down the Gerard route, sorry, and he brings in Davis, Defoe, McAllister, I would not even be unhappy if he wanted to bring Beale back with him. I would allow him to
No,
do
nearly
that.
that, to be fair.
I would allow him to do that. I reckon there's
Yeah,
a nucleus of a good team with the players that we've brought in, if they're
that's
allowed to play football the way that they want to play football. Look at Ant-Man. Like, he came in one day, then the next day he was thrown in, and he looked a player, like, without having to have any Russell Martin's poison injected into him. He looked a player. He was brilliant in that Pilsen game, and then
aye.
right after that, like, he got into a couple of training sessions and he got it trained out of him. I
But you
reckon.
look at thingy, look at the signings that we've made. I genuinely don't think that we had a bad window in terms of I look, you're never going to get it 100% right, but Miovski, Ant-Man, Cornelius,
Cornelius is a player,
and
man.
I still think there's something there with Asgard. Look, at the end of the day, you don't get into the Norway team,
I still think
United.
Jiga's a better defender than
Still
Suter's been
think,
this season as well.
well,
Suter's been hopeless.
I just think there is stuff there to work with. I don't think the players are bad. I think it's just the system. Russell Martin hitting them with
Aye.
450 things he wants done in a game instead of simplifying it.
Antman's not a bad player. Look at his stats for the Eredivisie playing for, I think it was Go Ahead Eagles or something like that. It was a team that
Most
weren't
assists in the
brilliant,
league last year.
right? And he was a cracking assist winger, cracking assists. He had cracking runs, dribbles with the ball, all the stats, all the ones that the stat boys love, right? But he had plenty of numbers in the Eredivisie, which is arguably got more good teams in it than the SPFL's got, right?
It's a better league than our league.
And the minute he's came in, the one good game, I was at the Pilsen game and he was cracking because Russell Martin had no opportunity to micromanage him or micromanage the good points right out of his game, and that's where lies the problem. Players only seem to get worse under him.
Aye.
They didn't get any better. Even the way Max Aarons plays now, Max Aarons, the jury's still well and truly out on the boy, right? But any
He'd have
video
played
you
on the
seen him,
left for like 5 games in a row. He played him on the left, and he's not a left wing. He's not a left back.
any video you seen of this boy before we signed him, he's bombing up and down that right hand side, quite high up, and we never gave him the opportunity to do that. He was probably told. I'm just guessing. I'm just speculating here. He was probably told tactically not to do that. Whereas, so if that's the strength in that boy's game, you're not taking your team and going, right, this is what I've got. Let's play everybody's strengths where we can. You're trying to actually coach their strengths out of them and get them doing something else completely.
There's too many players that we can point to that prior to coming here or when just after they signed, we were told these are good players for him to then ruin. Ant-Man's a good one. Gassama is amazing. Gassama is amazing, but he's only been really good in Europe. Like, he doesn't really pull off what he does in Europe. He's only scored in Europe. He's not scored in Scotland yet. Um, Rothwell, I'm sick to the back teeth of people tell me that Rothwell's an amazing player. I've not seen it, not once. But apparently he was amazing for Leeds.
Well, that's another player that prefers playing further forward and he's been getting shoved back.
Exactly.
Mm.
So for me, I agree with you, Stevie. I think Gerard and a combination of Davis, Defoe, McAllister, Beale, whoever he wants to bring in. I reckon though there isn't anything that could stop us from winning a cup double.
No, I think
Celtic are
can't argue
no
with that.
great Celtic are no great shakes at the minute. Either sitting second, either they're better than us. But a cup game is a cup game. Anybody can win a cup game, and if we can get somebody like Gerrard who has that kind of knowledge of how to play against Celtic, how to play in Scotland, then I don't see why we can't go on and win a cup double. I don't think that should be the aim, but if that's what we win, then fair enough. I don't think that we can win the league. I think that's too far gone now, and 7 games is too much of a big deficit to pull back, kind of thing.
I think, see, you were asking obviously about who would pick for managers. I've been quite vocal in saying obviously that Stevie G remains. I think there's a part of us that's going back to that was the last time we had any
We were
reasonable
happy.
success, really. Do you know what I mean? Like we were doing all
Aye.
right in Europe, getting to the later stages. We'd won the league that second season. We were top of the league when he left. I would take him. Like probably if you put a gun to my head, I would say that would be the guy I would pick. I would take Muscat as well, though. Like I reckon that Muscat's been overlooked 2 times now, and I think it's because where his record is. But he's just went to China there and won a treble, I think it was, in China there. Now it was with a team who I think it was Oscar that's playing it there now. He used to play for Chelsea, and he's never won a treble in the 10 years he's been there. And then Muscat comes in and they've just won a treble. Or
Yeah.
they're well ahead before games to go in the
I
league
think
season.
he's not won the league yet, but I think it's
But
nearly finished or
it's
something like
nearly a
that.
bygone conclusion. I think
No, 2 points, two
I,
points clear just now with 4 games to go.
I've never been a massive fan of Derek McInnes, right? I thought
Aye, I'm
when
the
he was
same.
at Aberdeen, he was a total bottle merchant as well because the amount of times that he got guffed off Celtic, gubbed, like 6-0 gubbins and all the rest of it, and the amount of times he bottled it. I think I'm not saying he's no started off really well with Hearts, but I reckon they've got a bit of the Aberdeen for last season about them,
New manager
where
bounce.
at some point they'll have a wee hiccup of some bad results, and then it depends on how they handle that. Aberdeen didn't handle it well. They ended up going about 20 odd games without a win, I think, at that point. So I reckon there's going to be a bit of that about them. I think if I had to choose right now, it would be Gerrard or Muscat, unless somebody comes out for left field that I don't see. It wouldn't be Danny Rowe. It wouldn't be Marco Rose either, to be honest with you.
The thing that I'm worried about is obviously following yesterday's open letter to the fans for Kavanagh and Marathi, like they're saying that they're going to have a hand in hiring whoever it is, but they're so far removed from all of this that I can't help but feel that Thelwell and Stewart are going to be the overriding factor in who comes into this. And I can't be dealing with another yes man. I cannot be dealing with if we go another 7 games in the league and another however many games. So how many games was it in total? We got 17 in total. Russell Martin
Yeah.
got. If we go another
Aye, 17.
another
Yeah.
17 games that we've just experienced, it'll be we need to fight relegation rather than we need to fight for second place. We're a
We
yes
can't
man
bring
and
in
where
another Russell Martin.
we,
Absolutely can't.
that's my worry. That is my worry.
I would have the 2 of them off and all. I'm sure many Rangers fans would be in the same boat. But he actually a month ago sat in an interview with RTV and said and talked about how Russell Martin is one of the best managers he's ever seen working, he's ever worked with, and all the rest of it. So his credibility is completely shot now, and you would have to think. I don't know what the relationship was obviously like between Parag Marathi and Andrew Kavanagh and Thelwell and Stewart, right? But you would have to seriously think they two would be looking at Thelwell and Stewart and going, right, yous have came to us with him and saying he's the outstanding candidate, and he was flipping hopeless.
Aye.
So they did say they were going to have a heavy hand in the next appointment. So I don't know if the last time they let them do most of the groundwork, and then they just were like, come to us with your preference
I
and
don't
sell
see
it
them
to us
sitting.
kind
I
of
don't
thing.
see them sitting in 7 interviews.
No,
To be
so I
honest,
don't know if this time they've went, we need to get this right. They can't afford another mistake because we already are at a point where we go, these 2 guys have hired, don't know what they're doing. So then we're therefore thinking, the Americans don't know what they're doing, or they're grossly underestimated what's actually happening in this league or what you need to win in this league because of hiring Russell Martin, who we could do a full 2-hour podcast talking about the guy and the stuff that he said and the comment on it. I'll never forget this. The comment after that Hibs game, we look coach today, only to go and lose and draw the next 2 games. The guy is an imbecile, honest to God. he's completely that comment, allowing yourself to be that triggered by a question in a media conference is unbelievable. He held on to that for a full week to have a snide remark about it. And even the guy who asked the comment, Stevie, before lads said, I didn't mind him having that comment because I knew he'd end up looking like an idiot when he loses the next game or he drops the next points, because you knew that win isn't a marker for how things were going to come. It was just
Again, though,
him looking
you
at an idiot again.
go back to that Hibs game. Aye, we won 2-0, we were 2-0 up, and the scoreline makes it look as if we were cruising, but we could easily have been 3-2 down if it hadn't have been for poor finishing for Hibs and getting saved by an offside flag at 0-0. So, it's exactly the same as it was against Panathinaikos. He said, I will look coach today. No, we didn't. Hibs didn't take their chances. We took the two that we had. You know, so it's kind of, it just reeks of pure arrogance. And
The way he actually
I'm
said it, then
I'm
walked
glad
out the
he's
press
gone.
conference was embarrassing. Honest to God, watching it, I
Hmm.
was like,
Aye,
it
aye.
was this is like schoolboy stuff.
Aye.
We look coach today,
Something
and then walking out,
something
it
with
was
the
a
wrestling or
mic
something like
drop,
that.
like mic drop, like mate.
Aye.
You next game you get beat or you draw, you look like a flipping idiot again now. I think we need to write off. It sounds mad saying we need to write off the season in early October, right? But realistically, I think if we get somebody in and we make the gap a bit smaller, kind of try and be competitive, maybe try and win a couple too. I think the first challenge has got to be to beat them in the League Cup semi, I think, and then take it from
First
there.
marker.
This
First
is this
marker
is a
that man's
really
can put down.
massive, important appointment now. The first one was already an important one to make, and they fluffed it by bringing him in. We could all see it. We all said it for the start. He was enjoying being the victim for the start. Oh, nobody wanted me here in the first place, and all the rest of it. And this is exactly why, because we knew he wasn't up to this. So this next appointment needs to be absolutely nailed on winner, or else they can't afford another
Aye.
blunder like that.
Agreed.
Aye, not really too much to add on that. Just I want to go back slightly to talking about the letter that came out yesterday. The one big thing that I was really happy that I heard, that I wanted to hear, and I think everybody wanted to hear, was them owning up to the mistake they'd made by hiring them. No, they said we got it wrong. You have a bit more respect for them if they come out and say that. You don't want them pulling the wool over your eyes. Um, so I was quite happy to hear that. But you can't have them to continue to make mistakes, because it's just no. The thing is, people like, I've got a couple of mates who would text me and go, "Oh, the Americans don't care," and all the rest of it. You're like, they've invested. People go on about the 20 million.
A lot of money.
They've had to obviously buy their way into the club as well. So
70
they've
million
spent
in
close.
debt, dude.
Exactly. So they've had to nullify the debt, plus put the 20 million in as well. So that's a guts of 100 million. That's before you even get to dealing with transfers and what they're having to pay Russell Martin, regardless of how much that is. So I don't believe that they don't care. I believe that they'll want a return on their investment at some stage. And the only way they're going to get that is by having a successful team on the park. So it's in their best interests for us to be doing well. Because as much as they go, we're doing work on the background and in the infrastructure and all the rest of it, the majority of your average fan doesn't care about that. All they care about is, at the end of the season, come May, the team are waving trophies at you. And that's all we really want at the end of the day. You can hire Phil Wells, Doug, or whatever. Nobody's going to care as long as we're winning. It's just at times like this where you kind of go, the daggers are out, don't do anything stupid, and then they just go and do something stupid. So now's the time to kind of rectify it, and rectify it early doors while you still can. Otherwise you'll lose any kind of goodwill you've got. But I think it's an easy win. If Gerard's interested, go and get him, because it's an easy win for the majority of the fans. You'll have them back on side. You'll have the place full again, and see where it goes. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then you just got to hold your hands up. But at the same time, it's one of the ones where, look, we've gave you what you wanted. Now let's see where it takes us. You know, it's kind of the last thing we need. As Charlie said, we don't need another project. We can't have another project. You need
Nah.
somebody that's been there and done it. And for me, there's nobody better
And won
qualified
stuff.
than
Aye.
Gerard.
I
Exactly.
think even Gerard or Muscat, we talked about this before, William, a while ago, and we were saying about how any really good Rangers manager throughout history has been a bit of a bastard, right? They
Aye.
have been. Gerrard,
That's why I wanted Jose. That's why I
and I mean
wanted Jose
in a
so
good way.
badly.
I don't mean this in a bad way. You know what I mean? I mean like
Aura.
Walter
He's
Smith.
got aura.
Yes, Walter Smith, cracking guy, absolutely unbelievable guy. Didn't take any shite though.
Aye.
Dick
Graham
Advocat
Souness.
was the same. Graham Souness was the same. Steven Gerrard was the same as well. Bill
I like
Struth was the
McLeish.
same.
McLeish to an extent.
McLeish was a really nice guy, but I think he was probably in the sense of he came in at a time where Dick Advocat had probably alienated quite a bit of the squad, so he was then able to get a rise out of them for a different reason because things had gotten quite a wee bit bad. But it's the same reason why Michael Beale didn't work. Same reason why Giovanni Van Bronckhorst didn't work. They're too soft. Like probably really cracking people great. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, you would probably pick him at any of your managers for a two-legged affair against anybody because his tactics with two-legged games was absolutely unbelievable. But
He was the one that get hung out to dry the most in the past 5 years,
aye.
I think.
I mean, don't get me wrong, his football was the horseshoe,
Aye.
side to side up the wing, cross the ball in. Like, we did get some cuffings off Celtic and all the rest of it. I remember a 4-0 game, particularly where it was, remember the one with John McLaughlin was in goals and he absolutely crumbled. We were getting cuffed 4-0 at
Aye,
half time or something like that.
pass the
It was
ball
bad.
straight to one of them.
Aye.
And that was the other thing that's swaying it for Gerrard for me as well. Aye, we lost games to Celtic, but you never went into any of them
Never
thinking
got
we're going
gubbed.
to get
Aye. Never
absolutely
ever got
down. We
gubbed,
never
mate.
lost by any more than 2 goals to them.
I
Whereas
always
Van
say when I'm
Bronckhorst and
talking
come
about
on,
Gerrard, oh, you go, sorry, mate.
so all I was going to say was, look, we Van Bronckhorst, come on, Beale, you just kind of felt as if we're going to get absolutely done here, and it happened. It happened a good few times, you know. So it's it's one of the ones where get them in the door. You need to because of the international break, get them in. They need to have time to
Aye.
work with the players rather than coming in the day before and going right. We've got a game tomorrow. Do you know
Aye.
what I mean? Use the time well. If anything, it should have been done during the last international break, but you can kind of see why they didn't because you've got to try and give the guys some time. But
Aye. They're trying to not look too emotional that they're making the decision based off, but too rashly. Whereas it was never going to work. There was no signs of it working. There was no signs of it getting better. Nothing was clicking. When we were going back to what I was saying about the good Rangers managers being a bastard, like or having a bit of that about them, right? Like Ferguson wasn't great at the end of last season, but he didn't get beat half Celtic because
well,
he was there. He was able to instill that mentality into them the same way Gerrard did with Old Firm games. Is this game is the most important game of your life at this point for the next 90 minutes, and that's the way you need to approach this game and the way you need to like apply yourself to this game. And I don't think anybody else has been able to do that.
I think a lot of it comes down to Gerrard's man management ability. And obviously, from his playing career, he carried
He was
that
an element as
respect.
well.
He carried that respect. The guy had an aura. There was at no point during Steven Gerrard's 3 years that we had him at Ibrox where if we went in at half time 1-0 down, that I didn't think that we wouldn't come out and pull it back. I was always confident, especially like in Europe and stuff like that.
Braga.
There was at no point did I ever think we're going to get beat. Like
I went to
even
3
although
Jamie Braga when Hadji scored the free kick.
aye, like there was always a hope for me when Gerrard was the manager. I've not had that. I definitely didn't have it with Michael Beale, and I definitely didn't have it with Clement. I didn't have it with Gio either, even although we did get to the Europa League final with Gio. But I just felt there was just something about Gerrard that just made me feel like, even although he only did win 1 in 9 trophies, whatever, like the funny wee stat that they like to throw out or whatever, I still supremely confident because of the man that Gerrard is, and that's what I
3-3
want.
Jamie Braga. We beat them 3-2 that game, but
That's
you
what I
get what I
want.
mean. Like you always like I'm agreeing with what you're saying. There was always that point of where you go, we could still win this game. There was never a point where we thought that's us done. The amount of times I've turned games off in the last 4 weeks because we go 2 goals down like Sturm Graz, turned it off at half time.
Aye.
Because I just knew I was like, that's us done. We're getting beat because I don't. This squad, this manager just doesn't have enough about them to come out and win that game. Brutal.
Aye.
But
So hopefully,
well, it's in the past now anyway, and so
aye,
we can look forward to hopefully.
hopefully we get something within the next few days. I hope it doesn't drag on too long. Obviously, was it yourself, Stevie, you said earlier, or was it one of our other chats said that the boys that are not away on an international break are away on holiday or whatever?
Aye,
Um,
so because they've got no day to take training, so they've been told to go away for the rest of the week. You'd have to hope by that point, well, they're going to have to have somebody in place because if they've got no day to
aye.
take training, they've got no day to manage the team against Dundee United. So
What is
hopefully,
the internationals? Like, do we know how many players are away? How many games there is?
There's normally
there's
two. We're back in the 18th.
normally 2 games. Back on the 18th, we're at home to Dundee United. So right away, you've got Raskin, Ant-Man, they're away. There's probably a few others. Cornelius will be away with Canada.
Miovski
Um,
probably.
Miovski will be away with Macedonia. Um, yeah, so there will be a few away. But you just kind of have to hope that, and obviously you've got Suter away with Scotland and Liam Kelly as well. Finlay Curtis is in the under 21s. Um, you just have to hope that by the time they come back, there's somebody in place and they're ready to go for the Saturday. So hopefully
Yep,
the next time we're recording one of these, we're sitting talking about
about the new
who the
manager.
new manager actually is, rather than going, who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I think that's what we'll call. That's what we'll go for the next
We should just do it
recording.
when we've hired somebody else.
Aye. Unless there's any big major breaking news or anything like that comes out, they rehire Russell Martin and their wildest nightmares. Um, I think that'll be the
I
next
don't.
time we
I think,
record.
I think he'll struggle to get another job anytime soon. To be honest,
He's
Apparently,
already been
Luton,
linked with
Luton.
the Luton Town job.
League One, he might have to.
Yeah,
I mean, he's going to have to. I think personally, if it was me, there's probably an element of emotion coming into that decision. I don't see how anybody else hires him after this, to be honest with you, because.
He's a good interview.
But then you need to have the optics. You need to have the eyes to see and look by what the words that are being used as. It's all good having a Jake Humphrey style positive conversation in an interview. Look at the guys. He didn't really pull up trees with any of his previous clubs except for that one championship promotion through the playoffs. Like, I think if he does get another job, he's going to have to drop down a few levels. So, and whether his ego will take that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think whoever the next manager is has got a big task to dispel the spectre of Russell Martin for Ibrox. It might not happen right away, which is obviously why we need to get them in as soon as possible so that they can start work on removing the poison that he's injected into this team. And then hopefully by the time we come back, we're good to go. And all I really want, obviously winning is what I want, but I would like to be entertained. I don't want to be falling asleep during the football, which happens way too often these days, and it's nothing to do with being 40. But I think that's where we'll call it the day, guys. Obviously, the next one, any kind of breaking news or anything like that, we'll come back for it. Any new followers, subscribers, and everything, make sure you've clicked the notification bell. Follow us all on Twitter. It will all be in the bio and the description of the video. And we'll see you later.
See you later.
see you later.